Alright, welcome back to another retro rant. I guess that's what I'm calling these things. And today we're playing a lovely little game called Kirby 64. I'm still on my N64 kick, and probably will be for a while yet. I enjoy it. And today's topic is adulting. It's Adulting 101. Woo! And I figured it would be a good combination to play, you know, Kirby game, which I think is typically viewed as, you know, a little bit more childlike. Don't get me wrong, it's a violent game, and we're gonna see some of that later on. I mean, now he's like shooting flaming arrows into these poor people. But I think adulting, which is, you know, a fairly recently created verb, is something of a, I don't know, there's a lot of people are writing about it, a lot of people are talking about it, and have been for the past couple of years now. So I wanted to weigh in, I guess, right? Because I think there's, in the current generation, the millennial generation, and we get, I guess I'm part of the millennials too. I'm right around the earlier age, or the older age of millennials. I was born in 1985, so I'm 32, and I think they consider millennials to start in 1980, so I was right there towards the beginning of that. Or pretty squarely in it, actually. So I wanted to weigh in because there seems to be... Life's tough, man. And I think a lot of, you know, the millennials get crap sometimes. I don't know how often that's true currently, but for the first, you know, there's a lot of griping and... oh, millennials spend all their money on avocado toast. And I'm like, I don't know what avocado toast even is. I assume it involves avocados, which are, you know, that's tasty or whatever, but bombs. But seriously though, it's like a bad joke, you know, avocado toast. Does it? I'm still not clear on what it is exactly. Does that mean you put avocado on toast? Oh, I didn't know you could do that. That's cool. Which I guess would be good? I don't know. I'm certainly not spending my money on it. I mean, we buy guacamole from time to time, but I wouldn't say I'm, you know, wasting my bill paying money or my retirement money on frickin' exotic food. That, I don't know. It's just silly. But I think it is important to acknowledge that the current generation, the millennial generation, is facing some unique challenges. And a lot of that, I think, is manifesting itself into the whole concept of adulting, which is a great verb. Anybody who complains that people using the word adult as a verb, you know, the word parent wasn't always a verb, but now we have parenting. So, so why not adulting for adults? I don't see anything wrong with it. Sorry, guy. Oh, he's crying too, and I just hit him in the face with a bomb. Oh, now he's dazed and confused. So back to the topic. I'm gonna make a concerted effort not to get too distracted today. I know I've been doing that quite a bit during these little chats that we have. But yeah, so what are some of the struggles? I wanted to talk about some of that. Some of the struggles that I guess the cutscene audio is just bad. Let's get that one up. Let's try. Oh no. Didn't quite make it. Poor Kirby. He's crying. He's crying like a millennial who is doing his best out there in the cold, heartless world. But to be serious, though, some bad things are on the rise, unfortunately. Like depression and anxiety. And, oh, there we go. Yeah, I can work with that. Depression, anxiety, and, you know, fear, essentially. You know, which is unfortunate because, sure, every generation's had to deal with things like that, and some more than others for various reasons. But you know, that's not a justification for it. You know, everybody's got their problems, but the rise is insane. I read an article the other day that said something along the lines of, since 1999, so in the past 20 years, suicide in our country. That's the other thing. Suicide has gone up quite a bit. I think 30% was the figure that I read. Or maybe more than 30% or something like that. And that's, you know, that's alarming. Whoa! Whoa! That's awesome. Okay, I've never seen that weapon before. So what do we do? Like, what are some of the causes of this, maybe? And again, just bear in mind, I'm just talking, man. I am not an expert in any way, shape, or form. Life is becoming more difficult than it has been for previous generations, I think. I think some things are becoming more difficult. Like home ownership and, you know, the cost of living is going up while wages remain stagnant. You know, it just makes things more difficult. And in my last video, I talked about how, you know, I have the feeling that society is honing itself to become an expert at either A, taking your money, or B, keeping you busy and miserable. So that way you don't have the mental energy to, you know, to fight back or whatever. Am I gonna make it? Oh, go Kirby, go, 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 Kirby, go! Yes! Ooh, that was close. Things are different now than they ever have been. And harder in a lot of ways. Okay, so for instance, like just for housing, right? The cost of housing. Millennials are not buying houses at the rates, you know, young people used to buy them at. And I was thinking about this the other day, that when I was in middle school or high school or something, my mom bought a house in this area, which is the sort of rural southeast. But she bought a nice house. It wasn't too old. It wasn't too large or too small. It was, I don't know, like a nice suburban house for about $50,000. Okay? And if you have looked for housing lately, even in this area, one of the least expensive areas to live in the country, you can't find a house for $50,000. It's impossible. Or if you do, you don't want to live there, so it's tough, right? And that's just 20 years later, or whatever, you know. And then combine that with, you know, we've been raised to think of college as, you know, the yardstick for success, or that's how you make it in this society. And again, that's no guarantee. I think I mentioned that last time. But that's the notion that we were brought up with and that we were trained to think or believe. But yeah, so it's disheartening, and, you know, it causes what we might call cognitive dissonance, because what millennials may have been raised to believe, the reality has been much different than that. And so that's always psychologically stressful, I think. When the reality doesn't match up with your expectations, that causes discomfort, mental discomfort, and disappointment and misery. So if you get enough of that going on, where you go into, you know, an insane amount of debt for something that may not even pay off for you, and then you're having trouble affording a place to live, despite making, you know, what are considered middle-class wages right now, because the wages are so stagnant, that, yeah, I mean, you can be making a wage that where 10, 20 years ago would have gone a long way, and now it just doesn't go as far. So if you're making middle-class wages or less, then the unfortunate reality behind that is going to be whatever you think you should be able to accomplish right now, the reality of it may be that you can't. That's not enough, you know. So yeah, so that's what we start with, right? And then, of course, college being way more expensive than it should be, and the textbooks and stuff I talked about yesterday, it sets up this expectation of what the definition of success is, and then you are dealt the reality that that's not actually the case. So that's got to be part of it. I think if anybody struggles to, you know, meet basic needs like housing or debt control or, you know, whatever, then then that's going to contribute, negatively impact their quality of life. It's going to cause problems for them that they wouldn't have otherwise had. So, that's real problem number one, right? By my estimation, that's one of them anyway. And I don't know how quality of life or, you know, having expectations not met contributes to things like mental illness or whatever, but I'm sure there's a lot more goes into it than that, genetics and all kinds of stuff I don't fully understand because I'm not an expert in that topic. But I think it's a non-zero contributor, you know what I mean? I think it does have an impact, and it's something to think about that maybe either gets brushed to the wayside or minimized, saying like, oh, every generation had it hard coming up, and you guys have phones and internet, and that's not really the point. The point is that, yeah, I mean, tech and gadgets and toys and adult toys, not adult toys, I mean like cell phones, and stuff like that, yeah, they have become more affordable in a way, or at least they're marketed as being very affordable. They're not actually. Okay. Is it, it's invisible? Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what the hell's going on with this game. Is it, oh! I got it under control now, folks. Yeah, super fire. But yeah, anxiety's on the rise, and that is a, you know, I believe a development in reaction to overwhelming amounts of distress, as opposed to eustress. Oh, it's King DDD. Come on, Joker. We're doing this. 1, 2. Did I get him? Yeah, I got him. Okay. So the elephant in the room that I haven't talked about much yet, I guess would be the suicide epidemic. And yeah, I'm willing to say that. I'm willing to say it's an epidemic at this point. I don't know. It's just gotten out of control, and I think what got me thinking about that recently was hearing about Anthony Bourdain, who I was a big fan of. I enjoyed, you know, especially his travel shows dealing with food and culture, and it was just a really interesting show, and he was an interesting entertainer. But yeah, we've had a lot of high-profile suicides. I've had some closer friends, people closer to me than a celebrity would be, you know, go through that as well. You know, make that choice, which is, I don't know, it's disheartening. Well, it's not disheartening for me, but it's just the idea of it is disheartening that that life gets bad enough that someone would opt to do that. You know, if they feel like that is their last remaining choice or good decision or whatever. I do like this one. This one's pretty good. The pencils and a bee butt and a fork and a nail. It's goofy. It's such an interesting style, this game. So how does it all come together? Let's get back to the actual topic. And I think how it comes together is, I can speak from my own experience that for me it was a lack of understanding of how to be an effective adult. Okay? And how to handle these new stresses, these new challenges that being an adult during this particular time in history in the United States and elsewhere too. I don't know as much about elsewhere, but I assume we don't exist in a vacuum, folks. The rest of the world is still out there doing stuff, being important. And it's important to keep that in mind too. But how does one... Because I hear this sentiment expressed a lot, that adulting is hard, and that it's confusing, and that the way to properly handle it is hard to figure out. You know? Oh, we're just gonna use this. There we go. Easy peasy. It is hard to figure out, and it's always has been for every generation, I think. I don't think that our generation, or the millennial generation, I should say, I don't know the age of my viewership. All 20-ish people that have started watching my stuff again. And thank you, by the way, for remembering me and, you know, making a point to actually watch my goofiness. But yeah, I've heard the sentiment expressed that it's difficult to figure out. It's, you know, a lot of people feel like they're not doing it right, or they haven't accomplished what they feel like they should, or, you know, how do you measure success? Sorry, I gotta move the mic. How do you measure success when you're confused, you know, when society's different than when you were growing up, and you're confused about what defines success as an adult, as you're adulting, out there adulting in the world. So I'll take a crack at it, right? That's the idea today. I will take a crack at it and see if we can't maybe arrive at a conclusion that's a little bit more positive. Anyway, so how do we define success? How do we, you know, find a way to feel better about the way things are going? Because there's two ways to, you know, to feel better. It's either change the situation. Yeah, there we go. Or change your thinking about the situation. Okay, those are the two paths to happiness. And changing the situation 9 times out of 10 is either way harder or impossible as compared to changing your thinking about the situation. Oh, maybe I can get shock spikes. Yeah, sure can. Oh, that's different. Okay, I don't know if that'll be useful, but it doesn't have much of a range on it. And I can't do it in midair. I want that guy. I want that guy's power. Oh, well, that was underwhelming. Okay. Should success have the same definition as it once did, right? And I think, you know, get a job, stay in that job for a bajillion years, retire in that job, and have family and, you know, all the classic understandings. Buy a house, buy yourself a brand new car every 2 years just because you can. Though I think those definitions of success are no longer working. Okay, and I think a lot of millennials have reached the same conclusion. So let's try to define some new measures for success. And on a certain level, I'd be willing to say that this is going to be more subjective than some people would like. Okay, it can't be defined by anything you want it to be. But should there be some wiggle room? I think, oh yeah, I think there should be. Because the success is not going to work the same way for everybody, and nor should it. So here's a couple of things. One, gainful employment, okay? That's kind of isn't that a requisite or prerequisite to success? You have to have some kind of, you have to have a method of, or a way to take care of your expenses as an adult, as you are adulting in this world. I think finding gainful employment is a challenge because the barriers to entry in a lot of cases are quite high. You know, whether it's you need an extremely expensive degree that may or may not even get you in the door in the first place. Excuse me, I burped. And that is, you know, that kind of puts a damper on the success too, because if you spend $30,000 getting a degree, then you have to start paying off those loans, then that's going to create a challenge. Oh, wow. Why didn't I think that was going to happen? I thought that was just a nice elevator. So what do we do? Right? So what do we do? The best we can, honestly. Oh, and another thing that's getting in the way of gainful employment is the increasing requirement of loads of experience. Oh, that's disgusting. Kirby! It's supposed to be a kid's game. He's cutting his own face off. He's cutting his own face off and he's throwing it at people. Oh! It's bigger, it's slower, it's stronger. But do the best you can. You know, being unemployed is not necessarily a thing to be embarrassed about, okay? Yeah, be sad, you can be upset. I think those are appropriate reactions to challenges. But it doesn't necessarily automatically mean those are the tiniest little bullets. How am I supposed to see that? Requires a keen eye. But I don't think embarrassment necessarily is an appropriate or useful reaction to being unemployed or underemployed. And here's why. The difference between an adult and a not adult, to me, the big difference is not whether or not you succeed, but how you carry yourself, how you handle yourself when you fail. Because you're going to fail. And you're going to fail, unfortunately, more often and harder in today's society than you ever otherwise would have. And that's something that we all just have to deal with. So our attitude goes a long way. So how do you handle it? Well, you handle it maturely, I think. And now we have to get into discussions of, like, emotional maturity and what that means, too. And that's not to say that feeling embarrassed about being unemployed or underemployed is emotionally immature. But you don't want to wind up doing something that's emotionally immature as a result, if that makes any sense. So I know I'm getting kind of ahead of myself here. So let's say that you are doing the right thing. You are trying very hard, and I think many millennials do. I think perhaps most of us do. That's something that we don't really get credit for. As long as you're trying, you're everything you can think of. Okay, you know you're doing the type of trying that should result in success, but for whatever reason it just isn't. You are qualified for a job, but the market's flooded and you can't catch a break, or you don't have the connections or recommendations that some other people have, or maybe you haven't been able to gain the credentials yet, or you're working on that. As long as you're making an earnest effort, then I don't think you have anything to be embarrassed about or to feel bad about, because that's literally the best you can do. Now, on the other hand, if you're saying you're doing the best you can, but you kind of know somewhere deep down in your heart that you could do better, that's a different story. So I'm not talking about that. That's going to happen from time to time to everybody, and some people, and some people aren't going to put the effort in to begin with. I'm not talking about those people. So you're putting the effort in and are not finding success. Okay, all right. So don't beat yourself up over that. You can be upset, you can be pissed off even, but I don't think embarrassment or like self-loathing or, oh, I'm worthless, I'm not going to make it, is an appropriate response at that point. So if you are having that response, I would... Is that going to kill me? No, okay. I would kind of try to zero in on that first and try to get that addressed, okay? Because that's the frightening emotional response that potentially leads to worse situations. So that's what I mean by sort of emotional maturity a little bit, is to start practicing thickening the skin, okay? And it's tough. It is super tough. It took me a long time to develop a thicker skin. But it is necessary in today's society, and if you want to be successful at adulting, I think that's necessary. Why is that fish back there? Can I interact with that guy? Uh-oh, no. Oh, crap. Well, that'll teach me to try and interact with the background fish. Kind of mean-spirited, though, just to have a background fish that's just drowning. I don't know. That was weird. So what else can you do, man? What else can you do? Okay, so let's say you've been out there kicking ass, taking names, and you get yourself some gainful employment. You get yourself... you can self-sustain, right? You can self-sustain, which is, I think, challenge number one. So I don't care if you're working at McDonald's. I don't care if you are working as a brilliant scientist. Whatever gets the bills paid, okay? you can always, and this is something we sometimes forget, you can always work on improving that situation later. You just have to have a good baseline to start with, and then you can turn your attention to some other things while you are searching for even more gainful employment, I guess. Whatever job it is you want to have. Next, and these are, you know, this is the advice that really you just, every time I heard advice like this, I would just roll my eyes and be like, yeah, okay. Or I'd fib a little bit and be like, yeah, I'm already doing that. And, you know, I knew I could have been doing better. And that is to take care of yourself. Physically. Okay? Take care of yourself. And I'm going to say it, and I know plenty of us out here have had, been fortunate enough to have parents that would repeat this mantra over and over and over again in a vain attempt to get to get us on the right track. That is, get enough sleep, but not too much. Eat well, even if, you know, as well as you can afford. I discovered ways of making packaged ramen instant noodles healthier. Woo! What the hell is that? Was he asleep? He is. Look at that. Kirby. Wake up, dog. We gotta save the world. Insane. He's... Okay. Yeah, get enough sleep, not too much. Most people, you know, need 6 to 8 hours a night. So if you're sleeping 10 to 12 hours a night and you're always tired, that's why you are tired, okay? Or if you're not sleeping enough, if you go to stay up to 3 o'clock in the morning every night and then wake up or attempt to wake up at 8, see, I have no idea what my health status is like. That's why he's falling asleep, because he was almost dead. Yeah, if you don't get enough, obviously, you know, you're not going to have the energy to go out there and adult. That's just a basic truth. If you're eating garbage crap, you know, no, McDonald's is not cheaper than cooking. It never has been. It never will be. Again, I could go on a big rant about cooking and food, but I won't, because there's not enough time. Just trust me on this, okay? Sleep, food, and, you know, don't overwork. Work hard, but don't overwork. I think a lot of people are burning out at a young age because they're just simply killing themselves. And don't do that either, because you'll burn out, and you can't afford to burn out as an adult. Especially the more responsibilities you wind up having, the less okay it is for you to burn out. So, and I'm going to avoid the obvious things like drugs and stuff. I mean, yeah, just don't. It's not worth it. Oh no! Jeez. I squished his little fluffy bubblegum body. So then you have the energy and to maintain a positive attitude, you have the energy to get stuff done. You're not burnt out. You're not exhausted all the time. You know, those memes and everybody, I'm just so exhausted all the time. Yeah, I mean, you got to diagnose the reasons for that. You have to take a good, honest, earnest look at how you're treating yourself and factor that into the equation too. So what else? So let's say you're doing that, right? You've got gainful employment. You are doing the best you can. You're out there. You're, you know, fighting hard every day, but not too hard. And you're taking care of yourself. Then what? Let's say you still don't feel any better about the whole deal. Life still sucks. And I could be a miser right now, you know, a miserable guy. Not a miser. Miser's something else. I could be a miserable downer right now and be like, yeah, life sucks, get used to it. But it doesn't have to be that bad, okay? So now what? Okay, well, you find some positive things for you to do. You find time for your hobbies. You find time for, I don't know, whatever it is you're into. It can't be... You can't survive on a steady diet of Netflix and memes, okay? And Facebook. That's... studies have been shown that social media increases anxiety and loneliness, or can, at least. So, you have to do better than that. You have to find ways of entertaining yourself, and engaging the... I don't know, the human element, the things that previous generations were forced to do because there was no other option. And we often forget to do because there are so many other options. And choice exhaustion is another thing we could talk about, but I won't get into that. We just have too many choices for things. And that's not necessarily good for happiness. So what do? You gotta find things that are fun to do. For me, you know, video games are a part of it. But, oh, okay, here we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Video games are certainly a part of it. And playing music, but, you know, I have to be reminded to go out. I have to be reminded to leave my house from time to time. Because, you know, if it were always up to me, I might not. I'm I'm definitely a homebody. So I gotta go out, I gotta see the world, I have to, just even if it's my own community, right? Oh hey, we made it! I thought for sure this boss was gonna do me in. Well, that's nice. But go out in your community, and yeah, you might live in the most boring town imaginable, but yeah, have some experiences, right? Squirrel away $10 a month, if possible, and go to a concert, after you save up, you know, enough money. Yeah! And you can move faster, too, which is very nice. You become basically invincible as long as you don't have to jump. Oh, and you can... Oh, that is ballin'! I didn't know you could do that. Okay, cool. But yeah, it all falls under the category of self-care. Self-care. If you have toxic people in your life, get rid of them. I know it's easier said than done. All of this stuff is easier said than done. So if you're sitting there thinking, well, yeah, but I mean... Oh, that's cool. Alright, that helps a lot. So I'm like, how am I gonna defeat those... How am I gonna defeat those enemies? Ooh, a penguin. Is it an enemy? No. Can I get penguin powers? Oh, I guess so. Wow. What is this? I don't know what that was. Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's a weird one. Oh! I guess that frog has Kirby power. So that's what a lot of adulting is about. Now, beyond that, though, beyond making yourself useful to yourself, others, and society, through your abilities and valuing yourself enough to you know, continue earnestly trying until you find whatever measure of professional success you're after. Because it's not the same for everybody, nor should it be. Uh-oh. So after that, after self-care, after, you know, cutting yourself some slack every once in a while and remembering to get... remember to get out there in the world and have some fun. You know, the definition of adult success really is up to you. So yeah, so get out there and conquer. That's what I tell my students. You know, I told one of my students that at graduation recently. I was like, yeah, get out there and conquer something, man. Do it. Because you are capable... Oh, I swear. You are capable of it. You know? And it might feel like you're not. And sometimes, you know, yeah, sometimes it does help to kind of express those feelings and maybe wallow in a little bit. But really, you don't want to do that for very long. The only reason I don't really like Face Boomerang is because it leaves them without a face for so long. Like, that's a long time to not be breathing or smiling or saying whatever it is Kirby says. Oh, he doesn't have enough mass to break the blocks when his face is gone. That is... Whoever thought to do that is brilliant. Alright, so then what? Right? So, do you need kids to be an adult? To be adulting properly? No. Do you need your dream job to be adulting properly? No. Or to even feel good about how you're handling your adultification, you know? Do you have to have a nice house? No. I live in a 400 square foot... I mean, I love it, but most people would not define this as you know, living conditions success. Some of it is necessarily going to be up to you, up to what you define. Okay, this power has got to go. I didn't like that one. Oh. Run, Curbs! Run, Kirby man! And otherwise, take a deep breath and look at yourself in the dang old mirror and say, hey, you know, it's not that bad. It's alright. That poor terrified... Okay, that's cool. That poor terrified little dude. What an interesting enemy. Alright, here we go. Fire and ice. That was neat. Okay. Does it make steam? Yeah, it steams up. That's cool. And otherwise, you're probably doing just fine. No matter what the old fogey writers criticize you about. Your avocado toast. You know. Your $5 coffees. Who cares? As long as you're doing your best and you're not succumbing to the very real mental health epidemics, and you're not letting inflation get you down too hard, and you're not letting... What's... Okay. That looked like a door. I don't know. Why would they do that? They tricked me. They tricked me! And remember to have fun, man. Remember to have fun. Just because you're a grown-ass adult doesn't mean that you have to stop having fun. And now we're going downriver. It's, Huckleberry Finn time. Ooh, cake. Oh, and ooh! Lots of health. Oh, nice. You can just, like, run them over. Oh! Oh, no! Oh! Was that okay? I don't know. I'll spare your life, little crab. Yeah, and don't let your attitude get so bad that you become a miserable person and angry and resentful and stuff like that, because that'll almost guarantee that, you know, your adulting years are not going to be any fun. So have some fun. So stay in there. Adulting can be fun, even despite the fact that our society has become very difficult to exist in. And it's not going to get easier anytime soon, and that just kind of has to be okay, and everything's got to be kind of okay. So there's my rant for today. It was a positive one. I guess I'm done. I could keep repeating myself ad nauseum, but I don't want to do that. It was a good talk, right? We had a good time. I had a good time. If you had a good time, leave a comment in the section and slappity plap that like button and scribbity subscription. Subscribe that button. Press it. Press it until it does physical damage to your mouse. Oh, and then go listen to my new song, man. Or go have some fun. Go outside and grill a steak. Grill a cheap steak. Find you a steak for $4 and grill it. Learn something new. I don't know. Peace out. Hang in there. It's okay. It's gonna be alright, man. Oh! Not for Kirby, though. Alright, peace. That's my spiel. We'll see you next time. Bye. Peace. Goodbye. Oh!